Everybody, it's Annette from the Art of Intuition. And today we're going to talk about things that change during Ascension that a lot of people don't talk about. And I wanted to kind of bring it up. I had someone mention it, and I've had this mentioned before, about my voice and how my voice has shifted over the years. And if you go back and watch videos, I started posting videos Christmas Day of 2017. I posted like 6. I really didn't understand how any of it worked back then. As far as hashtags and any of that stuff, I had no idea. Or any of it worked. So I started doing videos back then. I used to script them out, you know. Now I do stream of consciousness videos, so I haven't done that in years, but I used to script them out, and my voice was different. Each stage of Ascension, your voice is going to be different. So when I started, my voice had a more of a singy, songy quality, and when you hear people in this phase, no matter if they're saying that, it doesn't really matter what they're saying, you're going to recognize it in their voice. You're going to hear that stickiness in their voice, that sticky sweetness of the love and the light and everything's wonderful in their voice. And then you could go through different iterations, and my voice has gone through many iterations. You know, I can remember in 2021 when I was going through some galactic activations and embodiment, that I was really direct. And I, not only in my videos, you know, and our forehead gets bigger too, which I'm noticing when my hair is pulled back. So if you're noticing that in your forehead, it has to do with cranial expansion, and that is why your forehead looks like I feel like an alien. But anyway, all right, I just was noticing that today. I'll throw that one in for one that I didn't even have on the list. Okay, where was I? Oh, yeah. I remember I had this person so afraid to ask me anything because every time he would say something, it would just be beat around the bush. I'm like, just get to the point. You know, what is it you want? You know, get to the point. And I had him so afraid, he was afraid to say anything. You know, he was afraid to ask me any questions whatsoever because I was just like, just get to the point of what you want. So your voice is going to shift, and you're going to find that some people will resonate with you with your older stuff, some people resonate with you with your newer stuff, some people will find that different times they're attracted to different stages you were in, because that's where they are right now. And we're just not ever just in one stage. You know, you're going to fluctuate in between 3 different stages, 3 different dimensions. You might be in 3, 4, 5, you might be in 5, 6, 7. Your body is going to be in the lower half of those dimensions, because you have to bring your body up. You know, you have to, the consciousness is going to pull your body frequency up as it clears out your body and you start detoxing your body. But you're going to be in and out of different stages, in and out of different embodiments. So if you're in a galactic phase right now, you might not want to listen to my voice now, but go back to something I did 4 or 5 years ago, and that might resonate. Even though eventually what happens is all those aspects kind of combine together, and that's what kind of gives you your new sound. You know, the activations I had in 2021 and the ones I did in 2017 and the ones I've done since, they all kind of start to mesh together, and you get that new tone. And that tone is a different frequency to activate people. So not only is what you're saying activating people, the tone, the words can activate, but the frequency is more important than what anybody's saying. Now, I can listen to someone for a few minutes and know where they're at just by their voice. Reading, it's a little bit harder for me. So if I read someone's stuff, I have to I can't tell. Sometimes I can't tell. And sometimes it's a giveaway. I want someone to write how they'll say something. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes I have to actually hear them, and then I kind of have an idea of kind of where they are. And you know, whether that's somewhere I was a few years ago or way beyond where I am right now. It's not it doesn't really matter, but it just gives you an idea of where somebody is in their journey and what parts they're kind of in, or what parts they're about to be in. You might get attracted to a tone that is somewhere you're going to be. And then you might go back and listen to something and be like, oh, I can't listen to that now. Or something is a higher frequency and you just can't listen to it. So something can be a lower frequency and you can't listen to it, or it can be a higher frequency and you can't listen to it because it's kind of bringing up too much and you're not ready for that phase yet. So I know my voice has shifted quite a bit. I cannot go back and listen to any of the super old stuff Because I am on Substack now, and I'm putting some of my older stuff on Substack for people in different places, you know. I have put some stuff, but there is a line of where I won't go back. I really won't go past a certain time unless I really like the topic, because if I go too far back, I have a different understanding now of how I have a different consciousness level of how what I said then was an understanding I had at the time, but not the complete picture. So I don't actually want to put it out, because now it's old and it's not complete. Yes, I'll leave it out on YouTube. It'll be over there. So if someone comes across it, it might assist them of where they're at right this moment. So I don't take them down, but I wouldn't post them in Substack on my Substack page now, because it's kind of old and kind of antiquated, and I don't want someone to get that perspective from where I'm at right now. You know, so some stuff I won't. Now, if I like the topic, I will. So I pulled one over about sex and consciousness that I had done years ago, because back then I could do, my train of thought was a little different, and I could actually hold a more linear train of thought to get a topic discussed, where I have a lot harder time with that now. My eyes used to dart, not at all. Then they went to phase where they were darting a lot, and now I think they've calmed down somewhat. They don't dart as much when I'm talking, but what you're doing is you're reading the field. So when you start opening up to read the field, your eyes start going all over the place, because I'm reading the field and bringing in more information. So some videos I think are better than that, are better with that. I'm not looking all over the place. Others I am, but that's just the stage you're in. Now I feel like I still do it, maybe not as much, but I still have an issue with the train of thought. Like some topics, I don't know if I could discuss anymore, because I can't kind of follow the train of thought anymore. You see things from so many different perspectives eventually, that you try to throw everything in at one time, and it kind of becomes kind of a tossed salad of a lot of different things. So that is a whole different, you know, a kind of a different animal in what's going on, but that is one of the things. So, you know, you're going to notice, I mentioned the forehead, you're going to notice your voice, your eyes are going to get lighter. My eyes have changed a lot. The color of my eyes have changed a lot. You notice your eyes getting lighter, though, pretty early on. I remember people commenting that my eyes were lighter, that they looked a lot lighter than they had been. And I've always had kind of lighter eyes, but now they were a lot lighter back in the very beginning of awakening. Because we always think we're farther than we are, because some of it is kind of an ego thing. We're always like, I remember joking with people back then. We're all kind of, you know, in that time we were kind of all together, like, we're in the 8th dimension. I'm like, we're so in the 4th dimension, it wasn't even funny. But at the time, we thought we were groundbreaking, you know, at the time of all the stuff we were talking about. I do find that certain videos I put out years ago on the 4th dimension, more people in the collectives are in that dimension now, so they're kind of more interested in those topics. You know, people are more interested in how sex changes in Ascension, you know, because it's not something that many people talk about, and how that kind of your sexual energy starts changing into creative energy, how there is a purification of your DNA. I'm not going to go into too much of it, because I do have a whole video that is on the Substack. I don't think I ever put it on YouTube for different reasons, but it is on Substack. It is in one of the replay pages on there, on the live replay pages, if anybody wants to listen to it. What else? Eyes, voice, weight. Your weight shifts, okay? It shifts quite a bit. Now, what I have noticed is I have some very, very thin years, and then I'll have years where I kind of blow up. And then I have years where I'm really thin again, then I kind of blow up. And eventually, from what I've heard, you kind of just stay a little blown up. You don't really go back down again. And what happens is, well, different things are happening, okay? Sometimes you will find yourself, you'll blow up because of light. You're trying to hold and anchor down a reality, because everyone else in your reality could be unconscious, and you're there to bring consciousness, you're there to support, and you know you're supposed to be there, and that's just the part of your journey you're in, okay? You're supposed to support others, and your weight can fluctuate because you're expanding with light, and your light is so, you're expanding, and your light is so, it's not really weight. It's more like a density thing. So you kind of get bigger, and you're kind of anchoring in. You got a lot on your shoulders, and as soon as those realities start to clear, you'll shed that. You'll lose that because you don't have all that weight on you, in a sense. There's kind of this metaphorical thing too. You don't have that weight on you. The weight starts to come off, and you're shedding that programming that the embodying all that light, blowing up for that time helped you work through. Okay, so you'll shed all that. And you might have, usually mine goes linear years, right? And then I might have a year where, okay, now I'm a little thinner, than I was the prior year. It's never super drastic for me though. It was like, okay, if I get bigger, it will be. And then I'm thinner, and then I might get a lot thinner from that thinner point, so then you're smaller again, and then you might blow up again because now you're going through a different part where you're expanding out again. So sometimes, but it's different than weight when we were in our human consciousness and we ate to push down emotions. This is more, we can go through a sugary phase because we're activating our crystalline body. We might go through a potato phase because that's our plasma body. A pasta phase, you're weaving abundance cords. That's when you get into breads and honey and that type of stuff. So it's going to kind of be all over the place. So I know this last year for me was a bigger year, But the prior years to that, I had gotten pretty thin. And last year, I kind of blew up a lot. Now, mine was kind of a cross between anchoring in a lot of stuff and now I kind of started to feel some of that weight lifting in a sense. So you might notice it. Yours might be different. You might find it like in a year, you're fluctuating all over the place. I usually can kind of tell within the year. And I kind of know ahead of time if I'm going to be thinner or bigger that year. And our human doesn't like that. I always tell the joke where my friend went to this was years ago, but she'd gone to a doctor and he put her on some medication. This is probably back in like 2008 or something. And he was going through some stuff it could affect. And I don't remember what he rattled off before. It could have been the most horrific things ever. You're gonna grow, 6 nipples and you're gonna drool, whatever. But it got to the part where he said, and you could gain weight. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry, what did you say? Did you say it could gain weight? Nothing else mattered, but when you get to that point, you're like, I'm sorry, what? I missed everything ahead of that, but you caught me on that one. You could gain weight. So our human ego does not really love the weight train, but you eventually learn to kind of move on from it. And some people say you stop wearing jeans altogether because you fluctuate too much and you just don't even want to be in anything constrictive at all. I still do wear jeans. I do notice that mine have gotten to where I don't enjoy them as much as I used to enjoy wearing a pair of jeans. So we'll see. But weight is a big one. Hair color, that could depend. I mean, I've seen some people where they'll say as they lighten up and they get higher in consciousness, their body gets lighter, the density releases, and they're in different dimensions, past the 4th dimension, they will lighten their hair. This is a conscious choice they make to lighten their hair. I had lighter hair before and I went back to more of my natural color. And I don't know, that probably depends on which way you had gone in the past. Some people just like to have it lighter. Some people might want to go more natural because you're getting back more to your authentic self and you're dropping all the pretenses. So it also can depend on why you were doing these things, Body piercings, people will say they can't wear them because it is interfering with your energy field for a while. So a lot of people take them out. I don't have any, so I can't directly speak to that. But I have heard people will take them out for a while and then sometimes they get to certain phases where they can put them back in again. And sometimes they can't wear them again. Plastic surgery, some people who have implants, I have implants, I've had them for quite a long time, will say that they eventually get them out because they feel like they need to get them out. Some people will stay with them for a long time because they do kind of go on the journey with you in a sense, and they will kind of, what's the word? They will rise in frequency with your body. I've heard a lot. I had that message myself, and I've had other people say they had a similar message, but they might get to a point where they have to come out. So that's one thing. Another, trying to think of what else. Your personality is not going to shift in the sense of you don't become an AI robot, and everything is beautiful and you never say anything cross. Your personality is still your personality. You just have a higher aspect of your personality. You don't play in the human games. but it doesn't mean you're devoid of personality. You can tell a lot of people have gone through different stages of ascension. They still have a personality. None of us are the same. We still have our human personality. We just don't play in the human, well, we have a version of our human personality. We just don't play in the games. We're not playing in the human games anymore and recreating human realities, you know. So you'll start to kind of see that shift, but you're still yourself. You're a different version of that person. Look at it like I just did a video on the butterfly effect. I'm not sure which one I'm going to put up first, but if you haven't seen it, go watch it, because it's almost like you're making different choices. So your personality is getting shaped by a different choice now. And the choices you made don't exist in the current frequency your body's in, so you didn't technically ever experience that, so you're just a different person. But your core traits are the same. You know, it's kind of like anybody, if you ever knew anybody 18, and then you knew them, you know, for decades, and you knew them in their 60s, and they're still kind of the same person in there, but they've shifted, because over time, even in human consciousness, your personality shifts. You know, people shift over time. They still, and that's because their frequency still ticks up, even if it's in smaller increments in their frequency. There's something else I was going to talk about. Oh, God, I can't remember what it was. It was good too. I shifted my mind. Maybe I'll get it back. Well, I don't remember if this is exactly what I was going to say. I don't think it is, but where you live will shift. People around you are going to shift. Pretty much you can bet if someone was a huge player in your human existence, they will play a very small role in your ascension existence. It's just how that works out. You know, it's just how that works out. Alcohol, that's another one. Not the one I wanted to talk about. I can't remember what that one was, but alcohol will come and go. You know, there'll be a while where I could drink it because it kind of would cause a cellular release, and you could release programming I could not get to. I would go out and drink, and it would assist me to release that. That's what happens when people will cry when they drink, you know, because they're releasing all those emotions in the cellular body. And so a lot of that stuff will kind of start to happen. But then it'll get to a time where you can't really do with that anymore either. And, you know, so I can't remember the last time I had anything to drink. It's been probably probably 3 or 4 years ago. Usually get out of the cities. We can't really be in the cities anymore. It's too dense, it's too tough for us to be in the cities. A lot of us kind of knew to get out of the cities kind of years ago. A lot of the density, a lot of the alignments, collectives are aligning in the cities are kind of a rougher place to be right now. So you see a lot of people getting out of the cities, getting more out in nature. Your feelings, I think this is it. Your feelings are going to be different. You might appear very cold to people, okay? Really cold. You know, I would come off kind of icy, I think, to a lot of people, because it's not that we don't care, and it's not that we don't feel, because we do. And you feel really strongly about a lot of emotion. You know, a lot of things hit you really hard. I know a lot of stuff in nature hits me really hard now. When I see people just cutting down trees for no reason. When I see people being, you know, kind of just very dismissive to how we treat nature. Those stuff really affect me right now. When you see some of the stuff plays out in the different collectives, it's not that we don't feel it. And sometimes you go through the outrage. And I saw a really good article on that on Substack. And I can't 100% remember who wrote it. But it was excellent. If I can remember, I'll go look for it, and I'll put it in the comments of this video, because I do think it was good to talk about just being angry. And we do get angry, you know, but it's also important to remember that everything is a soul contract. Everything was agreed to. So yes, we can clear the anger, and that situation is going to cause us to clear the anger, but we're not a victim to it. And no one is a victim to it, because everyone agreed to it, you know, so it's important to remember that, so we don't get lost in the rage. And, you know, when we look at everything on a higher level, we take the faces off of people, and we just look at it like, yeah, that was their contract. Yeah, it's look at the karma that person took on. We get to the point where it's like, yeah, thank you for your service. Both of you, whether you were the victim or the perpetrator, doesn't matter. You're pushing the collectives forward. And that's what's important there. The rest of it is all the story. The rest of it is what we're clearing with that story. but we don't get caught up in the story anymore. And that can come off kind of cold. It doesn't mean that people who are in these situations you don't feel compassion for, and you don't want to assist them if you can. You can just see why it's happening from a different consciousness, and you don't get lost in the story anymore. We don't get lost in the story. And when you don't get lost in the story, you don't have the emotions around it. Emotions are not going to fuel your choices. Creation is what's going to fuel your choices. Emotions don't anymore. You're not driven by emotion. You're driven by creating. Emotions are not going to drive you. Okay, they're just not. It's none of those things you're not going to make any choices from those places. And when you're in those places, like I was saying on a different video, I was really pissed about something last night, but I was kind of refrained from, I just let that anger clear before I then looked at it and go, okay, what should I do here? What's highest line here? Because the emotions need to clear first. Then I'm going to align this reality. And before then, there's no point in trying to do it. There's no reason to try to do it. Gums and teeth, we have a lot of issues with our gums and our teeth. Just so much programming in our teeth, so much, I do a lot of oral pulling. I know a lot of people do a lot of oral pulling, anything to kind of try to keep a lot of that bacteria out, and get it out of your system. But our teeth, a lot of people are getting teeth pulled. You kind of see a lot of different issues with the teeth. So if you're having issues with your teeth, it's not, it is a big thing with your body raising in consciousness, the teeth. Let me see. Activity levels can change. A lot of people who used to really go to the gym, say they can't, they have no energy, but if they need to pull energy from their light body, they can, but you don't do as much. I do still go. I've gone to the gym. I still go to the gym, partly to kind of get away for a while and be sense by myself and just listen to something and kind of anchor in the body a little bit in the mornings. I do notice I don't do as much as I used to do. It's more just kind of going to go, and I feel like there's a purpose there for me to be there. There's reasons why different people, different color and different ethnic groups go through Ascension, because they can get in rooms we can't get into, if that makes sense. Someone might listen to someone that's a different skin color than me because that's more their group, right? That's why it's important for everyone to get out there. It doesn't matter. And some people say, we kind of have to get over, how we sound, how we look. None of that stuff really matters. But there's a reason why so many people everywhere are going through awakening and ascension, because they can get places we can't. I remember dealing with one of my it's not even like, we don't really have friends anymore, but one of my soul sisters went through a cancer experience, and she could get in the hospitals, and because that's an experience she had chosen, to go through that, so she could get in the hospitals, and we could do gift baskets in the hospitals. That was along when a lot of the COVID stuff was going on, and a lot of us did not get vaccinated at that time, and did not, because there was a lot of different stuff going on with that, and a lot of people chose not to. So we couldn't go there. We couldn't assist in that area because we could not gain access. But other people could, because they picked a different reality, and they were going a different route. So there's a lot of different paths in, and a lot of different people we're supposed to touch. We just don't want to get caught up in any of it and get attached to it. That's why a lot of people find you do a lot of different things. You don't make money doing one certain thing, because what will happen is, if you were super successful doing any one thing, you're not going to want to leave that one thing. I see a lot of people who used to, who channeled or who did Reiki and all that stuff. If they had made a living on it, they don't want to leave that stuff behind. And eventually that's all old. That's old frequencies. It's an old mentality. It is, you will outgrow it. And if you're kind of holding on to it because of a story of monetary reason, then eventually it starts to hold you back from your next phase. So, okay, I guess that's everything. All right, keep practicing the art of intuition.